Astrophysicists speak of the fabric of the space-time continuum. The Cayce Readings speak of the skein between time and space, a woven fabric, something that can hold impressions, carry patterns, encode information. In the readings, it is on this skein that every thought and deed of every soul is permanently recorded. What physics calls the space-time continuum, the readings call the Akashic record. And the question arises as to whether these are pointing at the same underlying reality from different directions. Before we can understand what the Akashic record is, we need to step back and ask what space and time are, which turns out to be a surprisingly difficult question. Albert Einstein argued that space and time are not the independent, absolute containers that Newton imagined. They are relative. They depend on the observer, on velocity, on the presence of mass. More strikingly, Einstein suggested that space and time are modes of thinking, not the actual conditions in which we live. They are categories of the mind applied to experience, not features of an observer-independent reality. Immanuel Kant arrived at the same conclusion from a completely different direction. In his inaugural dissertation of 1770, Kant argued that space is not something objective and real, neither substance nor accident nor relation, but subjective and ideal, arising by fixed law from the nature of the mind. Space and time are, for Kant, the a priori forms through which the mind organizes experience. They belong to the knower, not to the world as it is in itself. The Cayce readings align with this view. This is significant. Space and time, in the readings framework, are not fundamental features of reality. They are constructs of physical consciousness, the framework through which embodied souls navigate the material world. When consciousness shifts, in dreams, in altered states, in death, the constraints of space and time shift with it. Contemporary physics has expanded the concept of space well beyond 3 dimensions. Einstein's spacetime added time as a 4th dimension. String theory posits 9 spatial dimensions. M-theory requires 11. These extra dimensions are proposed as physically real but currently undetectable, compacted to scales far below what any instrument can measure. The Cayce readings independently arrived at a multidimensional model of the universe. And further, each planet is associated with a different number of dimensions. The environment of Venus has 4, Jupiter 5, Mercury 7, Neptune many more, and Saturn's fires reduce souls to near nil before recasting them. These are not arbitrary numbers. They correspond to the educational environments of each planetary sojourn, each offering a different dimensionality of consciousness for soul development. Bernard Carr's hyperspatial physics proposes that extra dimensions beyond ordinary spacetime are the physical substrate for mental experience. The subtle bodies described in esoteric traditions, astral body, celestial body, cosmic body, may be, in Carr's framework, forms of subtle matter existing in higher dimensional space. The readings use exactly this language, finer matter, to describe the soul's composition in non-physical states. With this multidimensional framework in place, the Akashic record becomes something more than a spiritual metaphor. It becomes a proposal about the information structure of higher dimensional spacetime. The concept of Akasha comes from ancient Sanskrit, the primary or primordial substance out of which everything is formed. The Cayce readings describe it as the skein between time and space, a woven fabric in which the impressions of every thought, word, and deed are encoded in light. This is not merely a metaphysical assertion. It has a specific physical implication. Mental activity leaves a permanent trace in the structure of space and time, not in the brain, which is a temporary physical instrument, in the fabric of the multidimensional field in which the soul actually operates. This is why the Akashic record is accessible from altered states of consciousness, dreams, meditation, psychic readings. When the constraints of ordinary three-dimensional physical consciousness are loosened, the soul's awareness can extend into the higher dimensional structure where those records are encoded. Ervin Laszlo, the systems philosopher and author of Science and the Akashic Field, proposes a universal information substrate, the Akashic field, that underlies all physical and conscious phenomena. He frames it as an attempt to give the ancient concept a rigorous physical framework. The readings anticipated this project by decades. There are two philosophical implications of this that deserve explicit attention. The first concerns accountability. If every thought and deed is encoded in the fabric of space-time, not forgiven in the sense of erased, but permanently part of the cosmic record, then the concept of karma is not a religious belief, but a structural feature of reality. You meet yourself, always, because the record of who you have been is built into the dimensional fabric through which you move. The readings put it directly. The Akashic record contains a record ever for the entity to meet, not as punishment but as the natural consequence of a universe structured so that consciousness and its expressions are permanent. The second implication concerns identity. If memory at its deepest level is not stored in the brain but written on the skein of space and time, then who you are is not limited to what your current brain can recall. Your full identity, across all lifetimes, all planetary sojourns, all dimensions of experience, is encoded in a record that is accessible to your soul, even if your conscious mind cannot reach it under ordinary conditions. The readings describe this as soul memory, distinct from physical brain memory. Memory brought in the light of consciousness is the outpouring of spirit. Memory is the mind of the soul. Space and time in the readings framework are not the absolute empty containers of Newtonian physics. They are woven, a skein, in which the life of every soul is permanently inscribed. Modern physics is discovering extra dimensions that may be relevant to this concept. Ancient philosophy recognized the subjectivity of space and time, and the Cayce readings offer a model in which these insights converge, a multidimensional space-time fabric that is also the book of life. The readings say that every thought, as well as every deed, is written on the Akashic record, not just actions, thoughts. What thought patterns have you been inscribing lately? What record are you building, one thought at a time?